Yeah.
My name is Noelle Holsheiser. I am the Programs and Operations Coordinator at GTS Educational Events, and we are excited to have you here this morning, and we appreciate you taking the time today to learn how to navigate the Symposium event platform. Just a note that you might have seen the word pathable thrown around. And that is because this conference platform for the Symposium is powered by Pathable. So that is the name of the conference platform we are using. Otherwise, from here on out, we can just refer to it as Symposium, conference platform, or virtual platform, etc. A few things before I hand it over to our Pathable expert, Emma. Note that this whole meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available on this conference platform on this session page. Before the conference begins on December 8th, the recording will move to the speaker FAQ page or the help desk, which I will go over later. The presentations used will also be available to you under files, which if you joined through the conference platform, you will be able to navigate to those. Next, I encourage everyone to ask questions. So you can ask these either in the Zoom chat or the session page chat if you joined through the conference platform. And note that for your own sessions, be aware that your attendees can use both of these chat methods. Attendees will likely be chatting in both. We have asked attendees to try to chat only in one, but it just doesn't work. And I did want to note that the way many of you joined this session today was through the conference platform, and it was through finding the session on your schedule and then selecting it. And that is exactly how an attendee joins a session. So when an attendee joins a session, they find the session's page, and then 1 minute before start time, a join live meeting button appears. And so that is how an attendee joins. But note that you as a speaker will join your session page. So you'll go to your session page, and then there will be a manage tab that appears in the upper right-hand corner. And you'll see this if you go to your sessions where you are a speaker. So you can't see it on this speaker training session page, but for your own sessions, you will see the manage tab. And Emma, our Pathable expert, will go over this more during the presentation. Next, some of my colleagues are on this call. Sarah Condon, first, who is in charge of speaker management. So she has been in contact with all of you, gathering materials, informing you of deadlines. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sarah. And then Megan Callistad is our registration expert. She is here, as well as Sam Alley, our senior event manager. So they're here to assist in answering questions later, especially during the event-specific portion. Also, please take a moment to participate in the polls. So if you are on the session page, if you joined via the conference platform, you will see a polls tab, which is next to the chat tab. And I see some have already started to participate in these. And for those who logged in via the direct Zoom link, unfortunately, you won't be able to participate. So we're going to first start with a presentation from our Pathable expert, Emma Merlo, who will explain how to join your sessions and demonstrate what information you need to know as a speaker and just be successful in the virtual platform. So I am going to hand it over to Emma.
So much, Noelle. It's really nice to meet everybody. My name is Emma. I'm a client happiness manager with Pathable, based out of Austin, Texas, although Pathable is a global platform. So we're going to go over a little bit today on pretty much a grand overview of interacting with the Pathable platform for your event. If I start going too quickly, Noelle, please slow me down because I have a bad habit of talking very fast.
Gotcha.
So we are going to start off talking a little bit about how to customize your speaker profile, then go into managing your sessions. At the end, we'll hit some online presentation best practices, and then we can talk about some technical specs and checks before you get started at your meeting. So some of you may have already accessed the system and some folks have not. To access for the first time, you would have or will receive an email. Your email, of course, will be specifically GTS branded, but you're seeing this is the Pathable email that has the link you can click to log into your profile for the first time. The first time you log in, you will be prompted to create a password and agree to the terms and conditions. Then you have two options, the complete profile button or the continue to app button. If you click complete profile, that'll take you straight where you need to go to add all of that lovely information to your profile, but continue to app will take you to the conference homepage. So we do suggest going to complete profile. Your user profile displays a whole bunch of great information, and it also will display any meeting that you are speaking at. People can click straight on that to go see where you're speaking, which is why we really suggest taking a moment and filling your profile and making it look great. So let's talk about what that looks like when you're directly on the website for the event. You can go to Account and then Edit My Profile. Everybody can see my screen, right? Yep, I'm seeing nods. Great. You can see this is my speaker sample profile. You'll be able to upload your photo, change your password, fill in all this great information, maybe choose some tags that apply to your everyday life. So you'll want to fill all of this and then click Save, of course. There's some other options you can have here, your preferences, which will allow you to unsubscribe. You can't hide your profile though because you're speakers, so the system will not allow that. So please do make sure you take a moment to fill out your speaker profile. Now, kind of a broad overview of presentations on the platform and how they work. There are two types of presentations, webinar format and meeting format. If you're not sure which your presentation is in, the event staff will be able to let you know whether you're presenting a webinar or a meeting. So webinars for attendees, it's a sit-back experience. They are watching presenters present. The interaction for them is pretty much in chat and polls. They're not able to share their video. They're not able to speak. And that will be embedded in the platform for the attendee. And I have some pictures of what that looks like later. The other type of meeting is the meeting type. What we are in right now is a meeting where everyone can unmute, everyone can share their video, more of an equal footing, a little bit more interactive, and for attendees that will pop out versus being embedded. So let's talk a little bit about managing your session, because obviously you want to get into your session and take a look at it before the event begins. So to do this, you are going to want to go to your schedule, and I'll do all of this on y'all's platform as well. Find your meeting, and you'll see your lovely meeting page. And then there's going to be a manage button. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we'll find the conference agenda. And let's go ahead and use this session as an example. We see here this manage button. That is the beautiful place where everything is going to happen for you all as presenters. This is where you'll go to set up things in advance, to start your session, all of those goodies. If you get onto the site and see that you don't have a manage button on your session, please do let us know. That's a really important part, obviously. So a few things that you can do before you actually get to your session is set up these polls. You can set up polls to collect information from attendees, whether it's before or during your session. We have a whole bunch of different types of polls that you can use. The first being free text entry. A lot of the time folks choose to use this for a Q&A instead of the chat because it's a little easier to sort. Attendees are able to upvote their responses. So if Noelle posts, hey, I want to get your business card, I can upvote that because I also want to have the business card, so it can kind of bump to the top of the list. You can choose to display this information, the results to attendees as the list or as a word cloud if you prefer. The second option is multiple choice, pretty simple there. The main thing about multiple choice answers is we have a couple of different ways to display the information, whether it's pie charts or bar graphs or percentage or count. Those are all options you'll have when you set up the poll. The last type is a rating poll. Pretty simple, between 1 and 5 stars, but of course it doesn't necessarily have to be a, hey, how was this? It can be whatever you like. So let's take a look at what it looks like to set up a poll for your session. So you're going to go to that Manage tab, and then the Polls tab, and you can see here we've already got some polls set up. Lovely word cloud. I really like the word cloud. So you can go ahead and say add new poll, and you'll have the opportunity to choose the poll type, set up all of those lovely options. An important note on these two options. So there's the option only speakers can view poll results. Pretty straightforward. It means that attendees aren't going to be able to see what folks have answered. So if this is maybe answers you want to keep a little bit more closely to the chest or you want to manage a little more, that's a good option. And then there's the hide poll from attendees until session starts. That means that it will not appear until the start time of the session, in case you don't want folks answering until you're already into the presentation. You can review the answers of polls. Here on the back end again, you're going to go to that Manage button and then click on Full Screen Results, or just review the results here. All right, let's talk a little bit about getting into a webinar. So the webinar has a green room, little waiting room where you can get in and take care of all of your business before attendees can join. A webinar has to be started. Attendees aren't going to jump in, you have to click start, but it's, I believe moderators and facilitators are going to be assisting with that on many sessions. All pathable meetings give you a 10-minute leeway after the meeting. So if you are still going and you're running a little late and you hit that end time, that's okay. But 10 minutes after the scheduled end time of the meeting will close and everyone will get booted off. So it's a good idea to kind of keep an eye on the time.
Before we go too far, there was a question that got asked in the chat about will poll results to the audience in real time. Did you cover that?
I'm so sorry. I lost you a little bit there.
That's okay. There was a question in the Zoom chat here about will the poll results be visible to the audience in real time? Did you mention that?
I didn't. Yes, they will be available in real time if you have set it so that attendees can see the results. That's instant in that polls tab. Okay, great. Let's hop into how to start your webinar. So once again, we're going to that Manage button. You're going to find your meeting on the agenda, click on the Manage button, and then you'll have this lovely Start Meeting button. Or if another speaker has already started the meeting, you'll see the Join Meeting button. Here's our notes again over here. The earliest you can get into a meeting is 20 minutes before. That's when that button will appear and let you hop in. We really highly suggest using that whole 20 minutes and getting in right at that 20-minute mark. You'll be surprised how quickly 20 minutes goes when attendees are about to join. 1 minute before the start time is when the meeting will be available for attendees. So when they're looking at this meeting page, they're going to see a button appear right there at that 1 minute before the meeting for them to join. So once you've clicked Manage and you've clicked Join or Start Meeting, your Zoom window is going to pop out. And for a webinar, you'll see the message, you're in a practice session, you have to click Start. You're always going to come in as host 500. This just has to do with the way that the Pathable communicates with Zoom. So you'll need to rename yourself. To do that, you'll just hover over your name. And if you're in the Zoom window now, you can test it, put your mouse over your name, and you should see the rename option. So you'll want to put in your name. Other than that, we're using just the basic standard Zoom controls, muting, unmuting, the chat, and screen sharing. Let's hit screen sharing super quickly. When we're screen sharing, we have a bunch of different options. Your first two options are going to be desktop. If you choose one of these, it means you're sharing everything that hits that desktop screen. So for instance, right now I'm sharing the PowerPoint presentation, but I can drag over this window of the meeting and you can see both. If instead you choose one of these below that has the name of a program, you are only going to share what is in that window and nothing else. So if I had only shared my PowerPoint, even though I drag this over, you're not going to see it. You're only going to see my PowerPoint. So that is something to keep in mind. If you plan on sharing a video, then you'll want to make sure to enable the Share Computer Sound button and the Optimize Screen Share for Video click button so that attendees can actually hear the audio there. Here's another tip on renaming yourself. As well, if you're the host of the meeting for moderators and facilitators, you can rename people as well if folks need a little bit of a hand there. So now we're in the webinar and we are ready to go. We're ready to let attendees in. You're going to go ahead and hit that. Sometimes it says start webinar, sometimes it says broadcast. It depends on what version of Zoom you have installed, if it's the latest version or an older version. But the button is all in the same place and pretty clear on what it does. So you'll want to go ahead and click that start button at that 1 minute before. If you do not click start, attendees will not be able to get in. The button will appear that will say, hey, you can join the meeting. But when they click that, it'll say the meeting has not started yet. So we do suggest kind of keeping to that timeline and making sure that you start the webinar exactly on time. Here is what attendees are going to see in the Pathable platform. They're going to see the lovely video window with you talking and sharing your screen. They're still going to have access to the chat, the polls, the people, the files. Whereas, you know, obviously like now we're all going to see it in Zoom so that we have the full controls. Now, you're probably saying, well, I need to look at the Pathable chat and I need to look at what I'm doing in Zoom. That's a lot. That's a whole bunch going on. If you have two screens, that's fantastic, because then you can, you know, have one on one side and the other on the other side. If you don't, you can always split your screen between two windows. I have shared a couple of our knowledge base articles with Noelle, and I believe she's going to share them with y'all later. That has some walkthroughs on how to split your screen if you need a little bit more description on how to do that, but we won't hit that here too much. So all of that was for a webinar. The main things to remember for a webinar are you have to click broadcast or people can't get in, and that they can't talk to you. Next is for a meeting. A lot of the same stuff here. We still have the green room. We still have that 10-minute buffer on the end, but it will start whether you click go or not. So you can't keep people out. Good to know. The way you're getting in is exactly the same. Find it on the agenda, click on the meeting, click manage, click join meeting. Exact same. Once again, it's going to pop out into Zoom. You're going to have all of the same options that you did before. You can record the meeting. I believe that the event staff is going to be handling that, so we won't go too much into the recording. Chat, you'll still need to rename yourself if you come in as a speaker. Attendees won't have to rename themselves, but if you're a presenter, you have to rename yourself. Attendees, once again, for a meeting, they're going to see it pop out into Zoom. So they'll still have access to the chat, the polls, the people, the files, but they will have the video window out instead. Great. So that's pretty much the main overview of how to manage your meeting in Pathable. Once again, we'll hit a Q&A once I've finished. So we're going to kind of go into some tips and tricks and best practices for managing your presentation. Obviously, before you get started, and maybe at the end of this meeting, I believe folks are going to, the staff is going to talk a little bit more about the particulars of the event, but check in and make sure, you know, who will be sharing their screen. Is it me, or is it a moderator or someone on your team? Are you setting up polls for me, or should I? Who's going to be managing the chat? Am I keeping an eye on that, or do we have other folks taking a look? Another note, obviously, if you're familiar with Zoom meetings, you know that you can go to the invite button on participants and share that link with folks to give them access. Please do not do so. I believe event staff is going to be managing that. They will be retrieving the link if needed for presenters. But we really highly recommend that speakers do not share that link, because if you give that link to someone, there is no way to prevent them from sharing the link and getting into the meeting. I've had presenters before grab that link and post it on Twitter, and that is a great way to get Zoom bombed, because we cannot prevent anybody from joining if they have that direct link. So it's that's the fire door. Be very, very cautious with it. If at all possible, please allow event staff and moderators to handle that for you if you do need to retrieve that link for any reason.
And as a note, we did use the direct Zoom link just to ensure all speakers could join this training, but that was as a last resort since some speakers aren't in the conference platform, at least not yet. Otherwise, the link should not be shared during the conference, as Emma said.
Awesome. Couple of tips. Your lighting when you're presenting is really important. it's easy to underestimate what lighting can do for beautification. I know everyone is already very beautiful, but lighting can help just, really put you over the edge there. Lighting is best if you can get it even and from both sides. Lighting from above, lighting from below, a ceiling fan behind you. Sometimes that can look a little bit funky, create some shadows on your face. So if you're able to just get, 2 tabletop lamps from your house and put them on either side of your desk, that is a fantastic option. You can see on the right side, we have a bunch of examples of how that lighting really affects the way that your face looks. So something to keep in mind. Camera angles are really important to keep in mind. I'm sure we've all been on Zoom calls where you get that great up the nose shot and you can kind of see everything everybody's got going on. You can see exactly how many chins they have. We also have the staring straight into the camera. Do you guys want to know what color my eyes are view? Something to keep in mind there is having a nice distance from the camera. Or the I'm hanging out on the couch. I really, I'm taking a rest today. It's lovely, but that's another one that can give you some good chins. We really suggest, if at all possible, to make sure your camera is eye level with you. That way you kind of have a good composition in the frame. You're showing not just like the top of your head. If you don't have like a lovely camera stand, a pile of books is fine. In my office, I have a pile of old high school yearbooks that I use to lift my camera up to my eye level. It's a great use for them. If they're sitting around and you're like, what am I going to do with these? They're great computer stands. Do not disturb. Always important, just like going into a movie. Make sure all of your devices and animals and children are muted, if at all possible. I'm sure we all know it's very distracting when stuff starts going off. Obviously, it's very hard to mute animals and children, but it's a great time if you have a roommate, a significant other, to see if they're able to manage your house guests and pets and such, to make sure that just during the course of your presentation, things are quiet and you're undisturbed. Even if you have to bribe them, that can work sometimes. Virtual backgrounds, let's talk about those a little bit. I am a big proponent of virtual backgrounds if you don't have a lovely background behind you. For instance, right now I am visiting my boyfriend and I'm working out of his house, which is not as neat and tidy as my office. So I have incorporated a virtual background. Some of our best rules of virtual backgrounds is to make sure they're clean and not too distracting. As you can see, we have some pretty funny ones, which are all well and good, but if it's taking away from your presentation, maybe it's a little bit too funny. Also, take a chance to test a virtual background before you hop into a meeting. You can see on Madeline's down here, she has disappeared into the grass. Not great. I have to be very careful with virtual backgrounds because I have very curly hair and my computer sometimes does not understand that and half of my head will disappear. So definitely take a moment to test out virtual backgrounds. Before you begin presenting, it's a good idea the morning before you present or the evening before you present to give your computer a restart. We are all, I don't know about y'all, but I leave my computer on all the time and I just let it sleep overnight. That uptime can be very stressful on a computer. So we want to give it a nice chance to rest before we present. Tabs. I can tell you right now, half of y'all have too many tabs open just by looking at you. I do it too. When we're presenting, it can be a real strain on your computer. We want things to run smoothly, so try to close as many tabs as possible. The next is your bandwidth and internet speed. Obviously, this is going to affect the quality of your presentation, whether it's camera or screen share or audio. So if at all possible, we want to maximize our bandwidth during our presentation. That means we don't have a lot of background processes that take a lot of internet. The kids aren't gaming, the dog's not streaming. Just for that moment, get a little bit of good internet. So try to make sure that there's not too many bandwidth confusion items. Great. I believe that's about it I have in my presentation. So I'd love to go ahead and move on to some Q&A. Yeah, I know there won't be any questions because I gave a perfect presentation. So.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any technical questions. If you have any event specific questions, such as the room host role, I will be going over that right after this Q&A. Emma, one of the questions that I had was, should we encourage one chat over the other, the Zoom chat or the session page chat?
We try to encourage chat in the Pathable system because that's really good for a networking perspective, because within Pathable, and you may look at the chat now and notice it shows the person's face, it shows their name, you can click on them and go to their profile. So it makes it a little bit more of an intimate atmosphere and a little bit more interactive versus the Zoom chat where you just kind of see somebody's name. So we do encourage trying to keep that in Pathable if at all possible.
Can we use the Zoom annotation feature so I can give every little arrows?
Yes, that works.
Good. And presumably only in the meeting version, not the WebEx version or the webinar version?
As long as you are the person sharing your screen, you should be able to use annotation.
Excellent, thank you.
Changing host 500, just you can try it now. Hover your mouse over your name in the participants list, and you should see your little blue rename option pop up.
And no one, when you all came into this meeting, you shouldn't have been named host 500. That is only if you're joining your own session. The system will automatically rename you to host 500. So you'll experience that on your own sessions during the conference.
Hi, this is Zafar. I have a question. I was wondering, would you recommend us to record, our presentation, which is a webinar, just as a backup if something, comes up on the day of the presentation? With COVID and everything that's going on.
I will say from a Pathable side, that's a great idea. We never know, obviously things like global pandemics can happen. So it's always good to have a plan B.
Okay, thank you.
So I had a question too. I know you said there were two different types of basically virtual sessions. You have a webinar, and then you can have a more interactive session. I can't quite tell by looking at the speaker session that I'm on how to determine which it's been set as, or if that's something that we need to request. So how do we know that, basically?
Noelle, I'll let you take that one.
That is actually something I am going to go over. Right now, you can't tell whether your session format is a webinar or a meeting. And that is why last week I sent an email to the lead presenters, and at the bottom of the email was, your session is either a meeting or a webinar. If you'd like to change it, let me know by December 1st. Otherwise, you won't know whether it's a webinar or a meeting until you join. And in the webinars, you will see there will be a start webinar button at the top. And then if it is a meeting, there won't be that button. And also in a webinar, you'll be able to see, like in this meeting, you'll see there's the participants at the bottom. Whereas in a webinar, if you click on participants, it will show a list of panelists and a list of, I believe it's participants. So basically you cannot tell until you join, and that's why we have communicated to speakers beforehand. But if you need that again, please email me if you need your session format.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Jay Wine speaking. I have two questions. One question is, has the polling feature been tested for accessibility? And do you know any resource for that? And number two, if we are having count for our session, will that display as a separate URL that we provide to the participant, or will that be only through the captioning function within Zoom?
Sorry, I was muted.
Sam, let's see if I'm back on screen. Yeah, we're working with a cart service provider, and we're going to have that available for all conference times. So keynotes, general sessions, that kind of thing. And then we're working with them to monitor all of our attendees that are coming in, and we'll try to include cart services where attendees are planning to participate. And my understanding is that they've included a link in the chat similar to what we've done for our committee meetings. So I know you've used that before, and I think does that answer your question?
Is there going to be an embedded, captions option like you have in Microsoft Teams?
This is Jay speaking. In the Zoom environment, the embedded caption often tend to be one line at a time, which is very difficult to follow. So we do recommend having a separate link, and then you open in the browser, you can resize the browser to make that work. Because otherwise you are trying to catch up one line at a time in the Zoom interface, which is not very easy to do. So we recommend that. So that's why I made that distinction. And then the other question I had was regarding the polling, whether we know what the polling is accessible.
I am going to have to walk away with that one and talk to our developers about it because I'm not sure on that.
Hey, so I have a
Couple of
question.
other questions. So all of the sessions are limited to 500 right now. I don't know if there's folks who are trying to limit it to less than that. We have right now we're at about 14 breakout sessions per time that we're offering the breakout sessions. At some point, we're going to talk about where we're at with attendees and how that might break down. But really, at the moment, the limit is at 500 per session.
So I asked in the chat, but so it doesn't fly by, but is there a slide template for the event or is it preferred?
I did see that one. I was going to go back to that. We have created some slide templates, and that'll be coming out in a follow-up email. And then, did you have another question in there? Was that
like usually they want the slides uploaded or PDF somewhere or something like that.
No, well, they have an ability to add files to their sessions or Emma, right? So you could upload your PowerPoint there.
Super.
Yes, absolutely. It would be through the Manage tab. You go to your session page and then there's that Manage tab in the upper right, and you can add a file. You can also add videos, but they need to be links. So either YouTube or Vimeo or another video provider.
Okay, thank you.
I saw one other question in here that I'm trying to go back to that was good. And I'm dropping it.
Do you have a guess at the class sizes yet?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk where we're at with attendees. This is actually, I don't know if I'm stomping on anything at this moment to jump into that.
I would say we could wait until the end. If you want to if you wanted to speak on sizes, but we can wait until the very end. That'd be a good ending. You'll see.
And then I have a question about the templates. I heard they're coming, but my question is, are they required? Because I hate moving my stuff to a whole nother template.
Chris, I'll give you a pass.
Thank you. I mean, I love templates. They make me feel good and stuff, but like, I am so weird about making sure everything lines up just fine. And a template forces me to learn a new language right before I have to like go to a dinner with people I have to impress.
Hey, Chris, this is Joe Perzella. I agree with you because you have to reorganize everything. So what I do is I use theirs as the splash screen on the first and on the last one, so that I have some branding on there.
Yeah, I love GTS. Don't get me wrong. Your child is beautiful in my eyes, but my child's more beautiful.
Hi, this is Zafar. I have a question. Since I'm going to be presenting a webinar and it's 45 minutes, should I schedule some time for questions towards the end? Or it should be all 45 minutes?
I would say schedule some time for questions. I would say no more than 5 minutes. Sometimes sessions have many questions. A lot of times they don't, just because these are smaller and only 45 minutes long.
Okay, thank you.
I found the question that I was wanting to come back to. Someone asked about attendees and getting some access to what their preparation for this is. So we've got a whole attendee engagement plan that's going to be going out. Noelle's put together a lot of great stuff, and Emma has resources that she's sharing so that they're going to get a chance to see the platform and interact ahead of time. And we actually are launching it to attendees this week. So there's a lot of fun things that'll be happening with that. They're going to get access to gamification in the site. So it'll encourage them to start poking around, adding your sessions to their agenda, visiting sponsors, all of that good stuff. So the hope with that, having, you know, a couple of weeks ahead of the event for them to be in there, is that they'll hopefully get a chance to become familiar, and they'll be getting reminders from us on ways that they can be engaging in the site. So I mean, knock on wood and all of those things, that nobody should be showing up to your session as a, you know, user at that moment. They should have had some time to access and add sessions and learn more about the platform. So.
Zafar, on your question about if you should schedule everything, like just be planning on speaking for all 45 minutes, one option with asking questions, especially when you're in a webinar and you can't see the people, is you can tell them that after the session is over, they can ask all of their questions in the chat in the platform, and we'll go spend a few minutes after the session going through answering those, so that they're all available there for them without you having to take time out of your session to do that.
Will the host or moderator or whoever's going to kind of be in there from GTS be kicking off the sessions at all? That'll take up some of that 45-minute allotment. Just want to make sure, you know, I don't plan for 45 minutes and end up only having 35 minutes to talk or something like that.
Typically, the room hosts are behind the scenes, so they will not kick off anything. And I will go through exactly what the room host will be doing in about a minute, or once we finish this Q&A session.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then if there are no more technical questions, we can move into the GTS event-specific side of this training. So I just want to say thank you, Emma, for joining us and teaching us about the conference platform. It's very helpful.
Thanks so much. Y'all have a fantastic presentation, fantastic rest of your presentation and rest of your day.
Bye, Emma. All right, so this is the event-specific side. So now that you know how to access your sessions and know how to interact in the conference platform, we're going to go over how our team, GTS, will support your session. So first, as you see on this screen, for every session, we'll have a room host. And the room host, the general description is room hosts are responsible for ensuring that the technical aspects of the session run smoothly. So the room host will join the session and the moderator, if you have a moderator. So they'll join in the session 20 minutes before start time, just like you do. And they'll help troubleshoot any technical issues, such as if you are having trouble joining, or once the meeting starts, if an attendee is having trouble. Room host will remain in the session the whole time. So you'll be assigned a room host about a week before the conference, and you'll be contacted by the GTS team introducing you to your room host, and then just reminding you what their role is. So the room host, again, will be with you for the whole session, from 20 minutes before when you should join to the very end. And once the session begins, they will go off screen typically and off mic, but they will be attentive to the chats, making sure that attendees can get into the session successfully. And also, if your session format is a meeting, they could run breakout rooms for you if you choose to do that. Typically a 45-minute presentation wouldn't have breakout rooms, but it's definitely an option if your session format is a meeting. They'll also make sure that your session is recording. And if you or a co-presenter have issues joining your session, like you can't locate it, or you're having trouble getting into the conference platform, you can contact your room host. You'll have their contact information and they will assist. And also, in regards to screen sharing, speakers typically prefer to screen share and run their own presentation slides. If you do need help screen sharing, just need help with this aspect, your room host can do this for you, but typically speakers like to do it themselves. As far as monitoring chat goes, as far as attendee questions go, just as an in-person conference would require a speaker to monitor and answer questions. We're having the speaker be responsible for periodically checking Zoom chat and the session page for any questions. But I know this is difficult, so your room host can assist you with monitoring chat if you'd like, and definitely discuss this right before your session. When you have that 20-minute tech check right before your session, you can discuss how you'd want them to help you monitor chat. In some sessions, there are a lot of questions, like for example, this speaker training. And if you'd like your room host to gather questions and then maybe send them to you at the end of the session, they can certainly do that. If you'd like them to read questions aloud as they come, they can also do that, and you can just discuss that the day of. They'll be prepared to help you. Otherwise, directions are that you, the speaker, can monitor questions, and for example, you might have that 5 minutes at the end of your session where you are asking, does anyone have questions? And then you can quickly look through the chat. And then a quick tip for monitoring chat. So once you have opened your Zoom session, you will be in the back end of your session. So I will show you how this looks. So once you join your session, you'll be in this back end, and this is how it looks. So this is the back end. So this is how I joined my meeting. This is the page that if you joined the session using the conference platform, this is what it looks like to attendees. I can see the chat and polls. But for me, how I joined was I clicked this manage button. This is how speakers join their session. So just a quick tip is once you've joined your session, make sure that you click this back to meeting details. I can make this bigger. This back to meeting details at the top, and that way you can monitor the chat here. That way you have this up in addition to your Zoom window. And then a quick tip that directly relates is using 2 monitors for your presentation is preferable if you have 2 monitors. As you can share your Zoom window on one screen, and then you can share then you can have the session page on the other. So for example, I am screen sharing my second monitor for this presentation, and I have my session page open on this first screen so I can look at any questions. And I also have my Zoom window up so I can monitor any questions. And then a tip for sharing PowerPoints when you have one monitor is when you are sharing a PowerPoint, if you only have one monitor, for example, here's a quick tip. You can click slideshow, set up slideshow, and then browse by an individual window. You probably can't see this, but it says show type and then browse by an individual window. Click OK, and then once you play your slideshow, I can minimize it. And then I could have my session page maybe over here. So that is if you have one monitor, that is a tip. So, all right, back slide. As far as the moderator goes, for the sessions who have moderators, and you'll know if you do, they will join the session the same way you do by going to the session page and then clicking that manage button. And they'll join 20 minutes before, just like you do. The moderators can also help manage Q&A as needed, which that's typically what they do. They can help field and present those questions out loud. And then as far as session recordings go, so we will be recording all sessions, and they will be available to attendees right on the conference platform on the session page. So once a session is over, the recording will upload back to the page. So just as most of you joined this speaker training via its session page, the recording will live on the page once the meeting is over. Also, this leads me into media releases. So if you have not sent us your media release, which a couple dozen haven't, so please do as soon as possible, and you can send this to Sarah, who is managing these. Next, I want to ensure your session format is correct. So in the email that you received from me last week, it should be a subject line called like Symposium Essential Speaker Training, November 17th, and session format info. So I let you know at the bottom what your session format is, whether it's a meeting or a webinar. And if you can't locate that email, just email me and I will send that to you. I'll put my email in the chat. So note that if you go to your session page, we talked about this earlier, there isn't an indication of what your format is. And that's why we needed to let you know what your format was beforehand. So for example, as a speaker, you wouldn't know it was a webinar until you joined and you saw in the Zoom window, there's a start webinar button at the top. Or as an attendee, you wouldn't know whether you're joining a webinar or a meeting until you click join meeting and the session is embedded into the platform. So attendees will see when they join a session, it's embedded into the session page. So if you need the clarification again, I know Emma went over this, but the differences, so in a Zoom meeting, attendees can be heard and seen by each other. And it is recommended for discussions and more interactive presentations. And you can also use breakout rooms if you'd like. A lot of people don't. And then Zoom webinars, attendees can't turn on their video or audio. So right now we're in a Zoom meeting, we can all see each other. But in a webinar, you cannot turn on your video or audio. And so you rely on chat to interact or ask questions in a webinar. And then only the host and any designated panelists can share their video, audio, and screen. Here are some resources for speakers. So there is an additional speaker training called Making a Great Online Presentation, and it's by Jim Hall, who is the CEO of Hall Mentum, and it's a 90-minute workshop. And so if you're still nervous about presenting in a virtual environment, or if you need some pointers on presenting virtual, please utilize this free speaker training by Jim Hall. And if you go to the session page, I can show you this. If you go to the session page, if you're on the conference platform, which if you're not, once you join the platform, if you are joining, you'll see this under files here. Here is a link to sign up.
This is Jim Hall. I'll say that feedback has been extremely positive on this. We also did it for a different conference, and they said that for the Rail Evolution, also put on by GTS, and the speakers there said that really helped them to boost their conference presentation. So it is definitely a great session to be part of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you if you have utilized that. And Jim, I knew you were on the call, so thanks for speaking up.
I'd just like to say I've been a part of a few virtual events this year in different countries. The difference between speakers who pay attention to AV settings and actually take speaker training and the rest of the conference is literally the difference in success. So even if you've spoken a million times, go to the training. I don't know, Jim, but go.
Go.
Training.
I have a quick question. Will the training recording be available? Because I have a conflict with another meeting. I really don't want to miss this one. So.
Yes, we will make a recording of that training available. So thank you, Jim. But
and I would like a copy of my recording as well, because sometimes when I speak nationally, they want copies. Who do I reach out to get that?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me or a GTS member just to make it easy, and we can help you out.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
How long will you need? Days, weeks?
A few days. That's
okay.
all. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So yes, that free training is on Thursday, this Thursday, November 19th at 9 a.m. And even if you've spoken times, it is helpful. And also that is Central Time, just as a note. Also another resource. Also, I apologize. There's a dog barking. So apologize if you can hear that in the background. The next resource is there is a speaker FAQ page. So we have created a speaker FAQ page in the conference platform just for speakers. So only speakers can see this. If you are in the conference platform after this training, you can navigate to the help desk, and I'll pull this up since I'm sharing my whole screen. If you navigate to the conference platform, and then let's see, I'll do it here. So it loads. That's okay. So you can go to help desk and then click speaker FAQ, and there's just some good FAQ style questions and bite-sized tutorials and recommendations and tips, and all speakers who are on the platform will have access to this. So that is another resource for you, and this will be on now from until the conference begins. Also, if you have questions during the conference, if you have any technical questions, such as I'm having trouble joining my session, contact your room host, who you'll be in contact with a week before the conference, like I said. And then if you have any registration questions or anything else, it's always good just to contact gts@mngts.org. A lot of us have that inbox, so we can ask, we can answer those questions or route them to the appropriate person. All right, so here is some to-dos, presenters. So please fill out, sign, and send back your media release ASAP if you have not done that. I know there's a lot of you, so please do that as soon as you can. If you'd like to change your session format, if it's a webinar and you want to change it to a meeting, vice versa, please email me by December 1st. Also, update your profile on the conference platform if you're on the platform now or once you join. So you ensure a photo is added, ensure a bio is added. You can add tags, position type, organization type. You'll see this if you'll go to the conference platform and you'll go to account and then edit my profile. And once you claim your account, you will be asked if you want to edit your profile. Also, please confirm that your sessions are listed under your personal agenda. So if you go to the conference platform, go to sessions, and then go to personal agenda, all the sessions that you are a speaker should show up here. If they're not, please let us know. Sign up for a gym hall training as needed. And also check out the site. And so please register as soon as possible to get into the site. Once you do, you can add polls, you can add files to your session, you can edit your profile, you can maybe set up a private meeting with someone else. You can also post in discussion forums, which will have some forums added. So please just check it out. And then before we go to the Q&A, before I answer some event-specific questions, I'm going to hand it over to our senior planner, Sam Alley, who's just going to update everyone on attendee registration. I told him to save this until before the Q&A. So Sam?
Perfect. Thanks, Noelle. So this question did come up earlier, and I wanted to just give everybody an update on where we're at. As of right now, we are at 322 attendees. That's a mix of attendees, so regular attendees, speakers, and sponsors. Our goal is to have 675 paid attendees and an overall mix of sponsors, presenters, everybody who's in the platform of around 900. So, I mean, at this point, I'm going to make an ask of you all. We've clearly got, over 60 folks who joined us today. I think we're in the neighborhood of around 84 sessions that are in that breakout space, plus the keynotes, the general sessions, all of the wonderful things. And as we've got access to Pathable and the space that we're using, we just really want you all to help us with promotion and sharing all of the wonderful things that you're doing. We know that this is going to be a great space for IT professionals to come together and really, lean into what's going on in the industry, and all of the professional development pieces that we've got going on are just, I'm really proud of the work that we've done to bring this all together, and I'm really thankful to have you all here. So we're going to send a follow-up email with lots of information. You all have been very participatory in asking questions, and so we want to make sure you get all of those things answered, but we also want to share some language around promoting and just asking that you'll share with your networks, your social media, your LinkedIn, wherever you might engage with folks. We're going to give that to you as a resource and a follow-up so that we can hopefully fill all of your sessions. I know we talked about the cap being 500, but if at any time we have 14 sessions and there's, currently 300 folks signed up, we'll want to make sure we fill it up a little bit more so we're not all scrambling for one another's attention or the attendees' attention. Really want to fill that out. So that's my big plug.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, please promote the conference if you can. We'll be definitely grateful. As far as Q&A, I know we have a couple minutes, but if you can stay, please stay, but I'll try to answer these as quick as I can. I'm seeing some questions. Let's see. And if you have any questions and just want to unmute yourself, feel free to.
Hey, Noel or Sam, this is Joe. I'm starting tomorrow. And I have decided to do a couple of polls in advance. Do I load them up or do you load them up?
So Joe, your session is a bit different because it is not a platform. So we will load those up for you. We'll be in contact with you.
Well, it's tomorrow, so I'll send you an email tonight.
Yeah. Yes. Right after this session. Should have clarified. But thank you. I know someone asked if they could have a recording of the session afterwards, which we can send recordings to you on a case-by-case basis. Just let us know. It'll be a couple days turnaround on that. Also, is there a preferred platform we should use? Definitely use Google Chrome. That one is one of the best to use. Otherwise, Safari is okay. Firefox is okay. I think Microsoft Edge is not a great one to use. Again, if you're on the conference platform and you navigate to that speaker FAQ, there is some system requirements under there you can see. And then if you cannot see that speaker FAQ, you can only see that if you are signed in. So that way, anonymous people visiting the site who aren't signed in can't see that. So once you are signed in.
I don't know how much more signed in I can be.
You're in the conference platform, John?
Yep. That's how
Okay.
I got into this meeting.
Gotcha.
I'm having the same issue as John. I don't see it either.
Okay, so there is a permission that you have to be a speaker to see it. So we might just have to go, it'd be something we have to do in the back end, and I can definitely take care of that. Just a quick thing we can do.
I'll look at it too, Noel, for you.
Okay. Perfect.
As you are building out your profiles and your account, there are some things that's worth noting that are connected directly to registration. So you may edit a few things such as your job title, your organization, your name, and then on the next hour, it'll update it back to what it was. So those things, there are just a couple of things in that account that will have to be edited on the registration side. Instead, if you ever have that, you can reach out to us and we can edit that in your registration, and then it'll automatically update it in your profile. There's only a few, and it's just because they have to match.
Are you able to answer the question Petra asked, are you looking for attendees from around the country? I want to say definitely yes, but just want to check.
Yeah, I would say we've got a couple different partnerships that are going on. Obviously, this whole conference sprung out of a Minnesota Midwest IT piece because of the physical conference. But now that we are virtual, we've got partners in North Dakota, obviously Sean Riley and the CIO panel that are happening there. We're working with Michigan as well. I believe we've got presenters from both coasts. I know we've got a pre-conference with, I think it's Tucson in Arizona, some city officials there. So we're definitely trying to outreach and as far as wide to really make this a full offering.
Thanks, Sam. And then about polls, who should I contact on how to include polls? Once you're in the site, you can, I'll screen share this. You can navigate directly to your session page and add those polls. So I know someone was asking how to do polls, so I'll run through this quickly. So if I go to, I'll find the speaker training, I'll demonstrate it on this speaker training. So if you navigate to your session page here and you click manage, and then you click the polls tab. This is how you can add a poll. So yep, you as a speaker can do this, and you can name it. You can make it multiple choice or make them type in an answer just like you did in the polls that were set up. A question, you could add options, have it displayed different ways, and you can hide results from attendees, or you can hide the whole poll until the session begins. So that is how to do polls. And this is how my polls look. I could also show them in full screen results. So if you wanted to hide results from attendees and show them during the session, so that way they can see them. That's how it looks. All right. Just looking through the chat, making sure I'm not missing anything. And then Andy, you are right in understanding that questions will be coming in on the Zoom chat and the session page chat. And we helped with another conference and we tried to limit people just to talk on the session page chat, but it was just confusing because people are used to talking in the Zoom chat. So typically in these types of meetings, attendees will chat just like most of you are doing now using the Zoom chat. But also please keep an eye on the session page as they can chat there too. And then the session page chat cannot be disabled. So please keep an eye on that. It's just kind of a wonky thing and we've tried to get around it. But your room host can help, fielding questions too. And then signing up for Jim's training. So if you're not on the conference platform, obviously you can't navigate to the files tab. We're sending out a follow-up email that will include a link to the recording as well as information on Jim Hall's training. So you can expect that.
Well, it looks like some of the people that cannot see the FAQ, they are marked as speakers. So we might have to ask Emma about that one because I don't know why it's not showing.
Yeah, that might be an Emma question. We'll get that resolved quickly. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat and we're 5 minutes over time. Thank you if you've stayed. I can stay on if anyone else has a question they'd like to ask me personally. Otherwise, please speak up. And yep, we'll definitely try to get the speaker FAQ resolved. There's an issue because we don't want attendees to see it. We just want speakers to see it, but it seems like it's just not working the way we want it to. So we will contact Pathable to make sure that's working right. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope this was helpful. I think we had a great turnout, and if you have any questions, you can also email me. I will put my email in here.